Straight ahead on CBN NewsWatch, new health care plan. Republicans roll out the replacement for Obamacare. Learn what's ahead as lawmakers move to repeal and replace. Plus, revised travel ban. President Trump signs a new executive order. We'll break down the changes. And
it just absolutely amazes me that medical science is just now finding this out.
New research exposes the dangers of sugar. And thank you so much for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. I'm Ephraim Graham. Republicans are taking the first step to fulfill one of President Trump's biggest campaign promises, repealing and replacing Obamacare. But the plan faces roadblocks in Congress. Charlene Aaron has the story.
Last week, President Trump called on Congress to take action on Obamacare.
I am calling on all Democrats and Republicans in Congress to work with us to save Americans from this imploding Obamacare disaster.
The House plan is called the American Health Care Act. Two of the House Republicans behind it, including Ways and Means Chairman Kevin Brady, say in a piece in the Wall Street Journal today that it will rescue those hurt by Obamacare's failures and lay the groundwork for a patient-centered healthcare system. Our fiscally responsible plan will lower costs for patients and begin returning control from Washington back to the states. The bill will improve access to care and restore the free market, increasing innovation, competition, and choice. The plan gets rid of some of the most unpopular parts of Obamacare, like trying to force people to buy health care insurance even if they don't want to. The measure also eliminates Obamacare's taxes. And it blocks taxpayer money from going to Planned Parenthood for a year. The bill gets rid of Obamacare's government subsidies for health insurance. It replaces them with federal tax credits to help people buy insurance. The plan also expands contributions to health savings accounts, and it forbids tax credits for any plan that covers abortion. The bill keeps a couple popular parts of Obamacare, like letting young adults stay on their parents' plans until they're 26, and protecting people with pre-existing conditions. But there are still many questions about the plan, including how many people may lose insurance from Obamacare and how much it will cost. The Congressional Budget Office hasn't estimated that yet. And many Republicans have questions about parts of the plan, and Democrats will oppose it because they don't want to get rid of Obamacare. But Obamacare has been unpopular in the polls for several years, and even former President Clinton blasted it on the campaign trail last year.
So you've got this crazy system where all of a sudden 25 million more people have health care, and then the people are out there busting it sometimes 60 hours a week, wind up with their premiums doubled and their coverage cut in half. It's the craziest thing in the world.
The plan is likely to be a starting point for discussion on replacing Obamacare, and it may take a while. It took the Democrats over a year to pass Obama's health care plan in 2009 and 2010. But Republicans are clearly determined to push ahead so they can then move on to their next big goal for this year, reforming the tax code and cutting taxes for businesses and individuals. Charlene Aaron, CBN News.
The president has signed a second executive order on immigration aimed at keeping possible terrorists out of the country. This travel ban loosens language providing help for Christian refugees, and it comes as the president deals with other domestic and foreign dilemmas. White House correspondent Jennifer Wishon has the details.
The White House is hitting the reset button after the president's first immigration order was shut down by a panel of judges. This time, there was no fanfare, no big bill signing. Instead, the cabinet secretaries responsible for carrying it out handled the details. Attorney General Jeff Sessions says, like the first executive order, it's perfectly legal.
This executive order responsibly provides a needed pause. We can carefully review how we scrutinize people coming here from these countries of concern.
Travelers from Iran, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, Syria, and Yemen are banned from entering the country for 90 days. Iraq, which was included in the first order, has been removed after the country made improvements to its vetting system. People traveling for medical care or foreign nationals working for the U.S. government are free to enter the country. The rollout is delayed until March 16th to give travelers and agencies a chance to comply and to appease the courts.
We cannot risk the prospect of malevolent actors using our immigration system to take American lives.
So what about Christians and other religious minorities facing persecution? Instead of giving them priority, the Departments of State and Homeland Security have been given the power to grant waivers if being denied status as a refugee would cause someone undue hardship, like Christians and others facing genocide at the hands of ISIS. Despite the administration's efforts, the new order could face challenges from opponents. Meanwhile, the White House isn't saying much about President Trump's charge that former President Obama wiretapped Trump Tower. They say they're waiting for the House and Senate Intelligence Committees to begin their investigations.
He would ask that they additionally look into this issue of leaks of classified and other information coming from the government. He believes that it undermines our national security.
And the president is also dealing with a major test in foreign policy, the growing threat of North Korea. During the nation's ballistic missile test this weekend, 3 of the missiles landed in Japanese waters.
Imagine someday one of these North Korean missiles accidentally doesn't stop in the Sea of Japan, but accidentally detonates or hits somewhere in Japan. I can tell you, Japan would respond. Imagine if the same thing happened in South Korea. South Korea would respond. And we're talking about nuclear weapons being possibly introduced to this.
Of course, both of those countries are U.S. allies.
Absolutely. So that would draw the United States into any conflict.
Harry Kazianis with the Center for the National Interest expects to see North Korea launch more missiles more frequently as it works to strengthen its offensive capabilities.
North Korea, for example, could put biological weapons. They could put chemical weapons. They could even get some crude radioactive material and stick it on a missile and lob it at the United States. That would have a very, very, very scary effect on the United States, its allies. So it doesn't have to be a nuclear weapon.
He says Kim Jong-un knows the U.S. won't invade his country as long as he has nuclear capabilities. The Trump administration is considering tougher sanctions, even resuming stalled negotiations to combat North Korea's aggressions. And the Wall Street Journal reports a White House review of strategy includes the possibility of using military force or regime change against the North to blunt its nuclear threat. Last week, a senior White House official called North Korea the greatest threat facing the U.S. Jennifer Wishon, CBN News, the White House.
The United States Supreme Court is now refusing to hear the case of Gavin. He is a transgender student from Virginia who wanted to be able to choose which bathroom to use. A lower Virginia court will now make the decision. The Supreme Court was scheduled to hear Grimm's case this month, but that changed after the Trump administration withdrew the transgender policy implemented by President Obama. Word from inside the White House is an executive order on religious freedom is still in the works. Exit polls show evangelicals who voted for President Trump see that as a high priority. CBN's Jenna Browder takes a closer look at why some want this addressed.
We have new information in the story of a Gresham bakery that became the center of a nationwide controversy over gay rights.
Religious freedom, a highly contentious issue, gaining traction with several high-profile cases playing out in the news. And one that's especially significant to Christians. How important is it that President Trump sign an executive order about religious freedom?
What we've seen in the last 8 years through the policies of the Obama administration is really this idea that religious expression is bad in public, and the policies have kind of quarantined faith within the walls of our churches.
Tony Perkins, president of the Family Research Council, has advised members of the Trump administration on the topic and now wants the president to act.
The executive order would simply state that, you don't have to leave your faith at home. You don't have to leave it within the 4 walls of the church. You can actually live your life accordingly.
In other words, freedom of religion would apply for those who work in all areas of life, including business and the government. A draft version of the order floated several weeks ago and drew strong criticism from LGBT groups and some liberals. It covers a wide range of issues like protections for people who support traditional marriage. Another example, religious and other groups would not have to provide health insurance that covers birth control or abortion. The order could also protect the tax-exempt status of faith groups that speak out on politics. How confident are you that this will happen, and do you have any kind of idea when it might happen?
I don't have any idea as to when. I think it probably will be sooner rather than later, but I do think this administration will address the issue. I do believe that the Trump administration, the president himself, understands the need, and I'm optimistic they're going to address it.
And what about people like Aaron and Melissa Klein, the Oregon couple fined for refusing to make a cake for a gay wedding?
It's not that they did not want to provide services to someone that was gay or lesbian. It's that they didn't want to be forced into providing their creative services for a wedding. They've sold to customers, just as florists like Barronelle Stutzman, great lady who served everyone who came through the door, but did not want to use her gifts, her creative gifts, to be a part of something that from a Christian standpoint is sacred, marriage.
Perkins is pushing for that executive order, but also hopes Congress passes a bill that ensures more permanent protection for all people of faith. In Washington, Jenna Browder, CBN News.
More backlash today over Disney's decision to feature a gay character in its live-action remake of Beauty and the Beast. Russia's culture ministry gave the green light to the release of the film despite growing protests. The ministry says it's granted a screening license with a 16 and older age restriction. On Monday, Russian lawmaker Vitaly Milanov called the film homosexual propaganda and said it should not be seen by children. In a CBN News Twitter poll, viewers responded to reports of a big gay moment in Beauty and the Beast. More than 70% of those who responded say they will boycott the film, while others plan to do nothing. Many, though, did say the Christian community should take a stand against these type of children's movies. Head to cbnnews.com to let us know what you think about the film. Still ahead, here on CBN NewsWatch, could you be putting yourself at risk for cancer, one spoonful at a time? Find out what the culprit is, and you'll be stunned when you find out how much you're eating it. That story's next. Scientists believe 2/3 of all cancers are caused by our own bad choices, like smoking and not exercising. And the granddaddy of them all, a poor diet, because what you eat can literally kill you. Our CBN News health reporter Lori Johnson shows us the dramatic link between cancer and sugar.
A clear relationship between sugar and cancer leads scientists to two conclusions. Sugar use contributes to cancer, and going without it can slow growth of the disease.
100 years ago, most folks consumed only 4 pounds of sugar a year. That's this much. Now, however, the average person takes in 40 times this amount, 160 pounds of sugar a year. That's this much.
Food manufacturers add enormous amounts of sugar, usually in the form of high fructose corn syrup, to products we consume all day, every day. Coffee drinks and cereal, soda and snacks. Even foods you wouldn't expect, like spaghetti sauce and peanut butter. This tiny container of yogurt contains more sugar than a candy bar.
Now, scientists tell us sugar directly influences cancer cells. The amount we consume can either feed those cells or starve them.
In a landmark study, researchers at UT-MD Anderson Cancer Center fed mice high fructose corn syrup in percentages equal to what many humans consume. Those mice developed higher rates of lung and breast cancer compared to mice fed less sugar. The study also tells us something about people who already have cancer. One researcher said a lot of patients are told it doesn't matter what you eat after you are diagnosed with cancer. This preliminary animal research suggests that it does matter.
And it just absolutely amazes me that medical science is just now finding this out.
Fred Hatfield knows firsthand sugar intake matters after a cancer diagnosis. Back in 2012, his diagnosis was basically a death sentence.
The doctors gave me 3 months to live because of widespread metastatic cancer in my skeletal structure. 3 months. 3 different doctors told me that same thing.
It's a horrible, horrible feeling to have someone tell you that the person that you love only has 3 months to live and you're not going to be with him anymore.
Then Fred heard about a low-sugar diet called the ketogenic diet, believed to slow cancer in some people. With nothing to lose, he gave it a try, and to his astonishment, it worked.
And the cancer was gone completely.
Fred's recovery didn't surprise Dr. Dominic D'Agostino. His team at the University of South Florida discovered mice with highly aggressive metastatic cancer continued living when fed a ketogenic diet.
We have dramatically increased survival with metabolic therapy. So we think it's important to get this information out.
And it's not just lab animals. Dr. D'Agostino has seen similar results in humans.
I've been in correspondence with a number of people, probably at least a dozen people, and over the last 1.5 to 2 years, and all of them are still alive, so despite the odds. And so this is very encouraging.
The ketogenic diet means no sugar and no starchy carbohydrates like bread and pasta that convert to sugar. D'Agostino says cancer cells love sugar and starch because cancer thrives on the glucose from those foods. Remove the glucose and starve the cancer cells. Glucose also fuels our healthy cells, but if it's not there, those cells can switch to an alternate fuel source called ketone bodies. Cancer cells only run on glucose.
Your normal cells have the metabolic flexibility to adapt from using glucose to using ketone bodies, but cancer cells lack this metabolic flexibility, so we can exploit that.
Since processed food contains so much sugar and starch, people following the ketogenic diet tend to cook whole foods from scratch.
You can go online and there's just cookbooks and, it's clean eating, just very clean eating. None of the sugars, the salts, the trash food.
So when it comes to cancer, sugar is considered public enemy number 1. Avoiding it could lead to prevention or slow it down in people fighting the disease. Lori Johnson, CBN News.
Still ahead, he is the owner of a popular Chinese food chain. His secret to success? Faith. Hear that story when we return. Asian cuisine is one of the fastest growing foods in the world today. In less than 20 years, Asian restaurants have multiplied nearly 6-fold. The owner of one popular Chinese restaurant chain gives Jesus Christ the credit for his business success. Meng Fai Li has this story.
It's 6 o'clock in the morning and the day has already started at Peter Chang's. The kitchen is full of vegetables and energy. From Washington, D.C. to Maryland and Virginia, Jiang Pengliang, also known as Peter Chang, has made a name for himself. However, he says when he first moved to the United States, he was just a small fish in a big pond.
When I came to the U.S. in 2001, I was so young. I had many dreams, such as opening up my own restaurant. I was so jealous of others, but I knew all I could do was to be patient and learn from others.
Hardworking, Chang constantly practiced his skills and learned from leading chefs in the field. He loved cooking.
I always look for chances to become better in cooking. This is all I know. In order to make a living and improve my life in the United States, I needed to push myself harder. That's the Chinese spirit.
For Chang, cooking is an art form. In 2011, he successfully opened up his first restaurant. He named it Peter Chang. And the quality of food and service are the core of his business. Meanwhile, he constantly creates new authentic Chinese dishes to attract more customers. Peter Chang's business was so popular, even a former Chinese president paid a visit to his restaurant. In 2016, he was nominated for the James Beard Foundation Best Chef Award. Today, Chang has more than 10 restaurants where customers are offered more than just food.
I have been a chef for 30 years. I want to introduce Chinese culture too. Food is the best way to do so. When people come to my restaurant, I want them to feel welcomed. They're like my family members, and I hope they appreciate our efforts.
Peter Chang today is a very successful restaurant business owner. Also, he is a man of faith. When asked about his faith journey, he is very grateful about what the Bible and the church have taught him.
I am always touched by what the church taught me, especially on gratefulness. I am still learning and searching by reading the Bible. The words of Jesus guide my life. As a sinner, I need to obey and be humble.
Chang tries to teach his employees the same principle. The scriptures are very important to him.
Chang is such a good man. He is very honest and patient in teaching us many useful things. He never allows us to forget the importance of being grateful. I love to work with him.
Peter Chang is in the process of opening up more restaurants in other states. First is New York. He wants more and more Americans to fall in love with Chinese food and Chinese culture. More importantly, he believes the Lord will continue to guide him to greater success. Mengfei Li, CBN News.
Beautiful to see the faith story behind the business. Stay with us. There's more of CBN NewsWatch straight ahead. Time now for your Tuesday Tweetable. Here is a message to encourage you and for you to post, tag, tweet, and share with those who follow you. Consider this. You've prayed for it. Now it's time for you to prepare for it. Do the work that demonstrates you have faith in God to perform it. Make a plan, write it down, and take practical steps to move you closer to your goal. With that word, make this a terrific Tuesday. That is going to have to do it for this edition of CBN NewsWatch. Remember, you can find more of our exclusive coverage of the issues you care most about always at cbnnews.com. And we would love to hear what you think about the stories you've seen here today. You can do that by emailing newswatch@cbn.com. You can also reach out to us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Hope you'll join us again right here next time. Make this a terrific Tuesday. We'll see you right back here come tomorrow. Bye-bye, everybody.